are back at Smoking and Toasting. It's the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And we were talking in between the segments, and I said, this is pretty good stuff. We should probably put it in the segment. We were talking about, you mentioned that you'd been binging Cheers episodes on Netflix, and taking a look at what they had behind Sam in the bar.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
How fascinating it was from the standpoint of somebody who pays attention to these type of things.
Absolutely. And I've always wondered, what beer are they drinking? Because Norman and Cliffy's all, but it's just this little tiny nub of a tap handle.
Right.
And, you get a beer, Sammy? I guess
they never mention a beer. It's just a beer.
Yeah, but still, to me, and I may have said this on the show before, but best episode of Cheers ever is the episode where Norm gets a job as a beer taster,
yes.
And they put the white lab coat on him. They lead him back into the brewery. He walks into the room where the big tanks are, and the first thing he does is he just walks up to the tank and hugs it. Brilliant. That's brilliant television. Right there.
You know how they always had that? They had the skit at the very beginning before they put the intro.
The credits, yeah.
Right before the intro, and they had a guy walk in. He's like, I hadn't been in this place in years. So much has changed. That wall didn't used to be there. This didn't used to be there. That didn't used to be there. And Woody's like, oh, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, right there behind Norm.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. You were talking about watching to see what beer people are drinking, and certainly there are plenty of beers that get put into a show for product placement.
Right.
And then sometimes you can tell that no one is paid for product placement. So I'll give you an example. My wife and I have been binging the A&E show Burn Notice, which is about a spy who gets burned and then he's trying to work his way back in. And so as the episodes go by, they do a number of different little jobs and stuff, and that's what the show is about. That plus the larger plot thing of him trying to figure out who burned him and get back in the in the game. But one of the characters, my favorite character on the show, his name is Sam Axe. He wears Hawaiian shirts all the time, and he's like an ex-Special Forces guy, but he loves his mojitos and his beer. And so they're constantly getting together to discuss what they're going to do over drinks or beer, and they're constantly drinking this beer that every time I watch the show, I'm like, I want a beer. I'm really thirsty for a beer. But it's in this red bottle, and I've been trying to figure out what it is for the whole show. Been trying to get a glimpse of it where I can see the thing. I'm like 5 seasons in, and I still don't know what the beer is.
Very
cleverly don't show
the
thing. However, for 3 episodes in season 3, suddenly they were all about Miller Genuine Draft. And it was really easy to see that. And Sam even mentions in the show, I picked up some Miller Genuine Draft for us to take along. I'm like, so that's, and this show's, maybe 10, 12 years old.
Right.
But that's product placement at that time. That's what
absolutely.
that looks like. Because they were being so careful not to give somebody free advertising. Then suddenly, not only can you see the label every time, but they even work it into a mention in the show. So I just point that out. By the way, it's a great show, but the reason I mentioned it was because of anyway. Soon they tired of Miller Genuine Draft and went back to the red bottle.
Brian
Brian
put in. Well, you see, Norm, it's like this. A herd of buffalo can only move as fast as the slowest buffalo, and when the herd is hunted, the slowest and weakest ones at the back are killed first. This natural selection is good for the herd as a whole because of the general speed and health of the whole group keeps improving by regularly killing the weakest members. He's talking about someone mentioning that beer kills brain cells, and so he's likening that to it, and it's actually hilarious.
Well, that's, of course, Clavin always has.
Yeah,
well, you see,
your
Norm.
Mesopotamian buffaloes.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that.
So a couple quick things. The cigar that I had was absolutely fantastic. I believe that was a $12 or $13 cigar. Mm-hmm. Definitely a 5 to a 5.5 on that. That was the Monte Cristo Nicaragua series, and that was fantastic. I'm about to light this Cohiba, the Red Dot, that our producer gave to me, and I'm going to enjoy that for the rest of the show.
So I'm enjoying this. It was the Romeo by Aging Room, and it was also in the $11 range, I want to say. It's smoking very nicely. It has survived multiple relights, as often happens to me during
saw
the show, and is still smoking beautifully. Has paired well with everything. I give that a solid 5. Now, the cigar I bought for Jeremiah,
I don't know what that is, but
that was like a $2.50 cigar.
the initial.
And, I'm just kidding.
Well, hey, then I give it a 10.
the initial light on that was so spicy. Like when you lit it up, it caught my attention.
Yeah.
I was like, "What is
No,
that?"
it's pepper and
So
dark and
this is
awesome, actually.
This is the crowned heads, and I'm going to look at the little band that you took off because it's Roman numerals. Somebody help me with Roman numeral translation here because
X is 10.
X is 10, so that's
it's 28. No,
20
18. Excuse
18.
me.
Okay.
18.
All right. So it's a crowned heads. 18. We'll have to go look at the box to see if there's another word on it. But actually, it looked really good.
It's quite tasty, and I like the more bold. I tend to lean more towards the Maduros a lot, and this kind of it's not a full. We're not in that like deep dark realm.
Yes.
But it's got a lot of those cool spices, and it's definitely like it's a long finish. Like I'm still getting,
Now,
still developing.
I didn't ask you about the Cuban that you took down earlier.
Man, it was good. I was having a similar issue where it was really, really tight, and I was a little bit worried about the draw. And then after about the first, like, maybe 3/4 of an inch of it, it really opened up. It stayed lit for most of the show. I think I only had to relight it twice or once.
That's good.
But really nice. And again, went with everything. I mean, that's the great thing about that particular Monte Cristo is it's kind of it's a universal monster. It's like if as long as you're having a good time with good people, it's going to go with it.
Before I open our next beer for the show, sorry about that. I didn't realize I was knocking your stuff over there. I want to point out that the Weller Special Reserve, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Well,
No, it's
Jeremiah was kind enough to pour some that he brought along
Yes.
During the break, and we've been enjoying it.
That
And
is, by the
it
way,
goes very, very well with this cigar, by the
a
way.
$20-ish bottle.
I believe I paid $21.98 before tax.
And it is
No, guys, you're
outstanding.
wrong. That bottle was really expensive. People don't want to go buy a bunch of those.
Oh, true, yes. Don't go
because
buy this,
they're
'cause-
so pricey. They must be $80, $90 a bottle.
The last stanchion of hope for bourbon drinkers is the $21 Weller.
Well, we all
It
remember.
is absolutely fantastic, though. Like, for $20, that's one of the best whiskeys
Yeah,
out
and
there.
it's a great value.
It does
Great.
not drink like a $20
No,
whiskey.
no.
No, not at all.
And you can get it. So,
So
there's that.
Ian has opened up what may be a bottle of beer that was more expensive than the Wellers, than the whiskey, but it's not a large bottle. It's not a bomber, but it is part of this Advanced Oak series that Drake's does. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but the last one of these Drake's that we had was the last time you were on. It was the Island Diaries,
which we
and
all
we
raved.
loved that beer.
Amazing beer.
So these are oak aged, and this one is a Belgian Quintuple. So
Also, Chris, if you're watching this and you see me pouring this rather hard, there's almost no CO2 in this at all.
So we were talking. The reason he brought this up is we were on Chris's show,
We talked about
which
the
is
aggressive
Whiskey
beer
Neat,
pouring,
which is
yeah.
a great show. We recommend it highly. Chris, despite the fact that nobody cares about him, is our good friend, and he was talking about how.
Well, I mean, he's a friend. I don't know if I'd say good. He's a friend.
He's a friend.
Whoa, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
he's an acquaintance. But
I met the guy.
We were talking about how he has taken some critique for being an aggressive pour
Sure.
when it comes to beer. He likes to pour it where it has a bit of the foam in the head on the top. And he's had some people tell him, no, you shouldn't do it that way. And his response was, but doesn't that release all the flavor? And so then we got into a very long
Sure.
discussion on
Well, at the end
Chris's
of the
show
day,
about that.
Some
My
of the
whole response is
carbonation
just,
he
you
wants
know,
to release.
Hush it. I want to drink how I drink.
That's true. I gave him a rash just because I thought it was funny.
Yes.
So.
So that was the reference. So
Am I
you
the only
let out
one
a-
that gets like beef bouillon out of this?
You let out a whoop when you took the first nose on
That
this.
smells so savory.
Well, beef bouillon, I don't know if I would have said it, but you're so right.
Like, that is
You're
a
so right.
savory nose.
Is this a beer or a soup?
This it's a barley soup.
It's a barley soup. Well,
It
Ian,
smells amazing.
I've been holding on to this because I knew you were going to love it. And by the way, speaking of things that you're going to love, guess what I picked up for next week's show? And I don't know which of these to bring.
Don't distract me yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm
All right, I'll
Like
hold
this
on.
is so good.
I need a
want
moment.
Yeah.
I want to wear this like cologne. This is so delicious. Beef bouillon, like it literally has like that big savory wonderfulness. Yeah,
If you were to drink some beef stock, but at the end it was to give you these wonderful dried fruit notes
oh my
and
gosh,
be very boozy all the while, that's what this would be.
That is so different so much more approachable on the palate than I thought it was going to be by the nose.
Weighing in at 14.5%, Quint will inspire you to hunt for great whales and compare scars. Rich, tart, slightly spiced, the Quintuple is layered with coriander, honey, orange zest, and the juice of 10,000 cherries.
So
careful.
That's what it is, the tart cherry.
This beer may bite you in the butt. Yeah, see, I didn't recognize
careful, this beer may bite you in the butt.
Yes, it's
But
careful.
as soon as you say cherry.
Yeah, so there is a tartness to the end, and I couldn't recognize it until I read that.
But I also love the fact the whole whale hunting, so we've brought it all the way back to the pirates.
Back to the pirates.
Yarg.
And, Jeremiah, you and I have talked about this.
Pirates?
That you and I are both fans of the story.
Yes.
Whether it's whiskey, whether it's rum, whether it's a beer like this. And even though some of that story obviously is,
for sure,
just interesting writing on the part of their guys, I love it. It makes me enjoy the beer more with now visions of whale hunting dancing in my head, even though I would never hunt a whale.
Here's a plus
when
and
in
minus.
Rome.
I have a bottle of this in my refrigerator. Okay?
Yeah.
And now that I've tasted this, that bottle's going to stay in there for at least a year.
Oh, I was going to say, will you have the bottle tomorrow now that you've tasted this? But
No,
you're
now
saying,
you're
saying you're keeping it longer.
Now I have to let it rest for a year and see what happens.
Wow. Very
That's going to be is so good. It is so
really
rich.
delicious. Yes.
Like the flavors on it are so rich. This would go with a good bacon, a good steak.
Bacon at B&B. Man.
Absolutely.
Well, I just want to say that this is another example of, we try to sample really different kinds of beers on the show. The strawberry lager from Abita that we had at the beginning of the show. Perfect beer for, throwing a bunch of them in the cooler and enjoying them on a Sunday or you know what I mean? Like perfect beer for like just having a few on a warm afternoon. This is the kind of beer we talk about that you want to open when you have a friend or friends, and you want to be able to sit and talk about it. It's a conversation piece. This beer.
So apparently, Quint is a Jaws reference. Wiki Brian put up there.
Yeah,
that's I didn't.
Not with 3, he can't.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So now I thought it was just because it was a quintuple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's a Jaws reference.
And it does have the big dorsal fin sticking up out of the water.
So, Jaws question for you guys: has either of you actually made it all the way through Jaws 3?
There's a Jaws 3?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And Jaws 3D.
After Sharknado, yes. Jaws 3, we don't talk about it.
But even the second Jaws. Come on.
All right, so
Dennis Quaid.
So let's get this straight. We had a Marilyn Manson reference, a Kenny Rogers reference, and a Sharknado reference. This particular show has just advanced to epic.
There's so many hashtags going on in this show.
Weren't Marilyn Manson and Kenny Rogers in Sharknado? Weren't they cameos?
In a perfect world, the answer to that question would be yes.
Everybody was a cameo. By the time they got to Sharknado 4, everyone was doing cameos.
That's right, everybody, because it was just too good to resist.
Oh, man. It became so tongue-in-cheek. How did that thing take off? It was crazy.
The fact that there was a movie made called Sharknado is just hilarious.
And then the fact that, it went haywire.
Well, look at I've been reading all these things recently about how Keanu Reeves is the actor of our generation because he's gone past being ironic now, and just the fact that he's endured and become a thing has made him more than just what. But anyway, the point is about the John Wick movies. They're so terrible as to be good.
Well, wait a minute.
That's called craptastic.
Whoa.
Okay, so so we just insulted a John Wick guy. Here we go.
But here's the thing about John Wick. Anytime you're it's a movie based on a graphic novel / comic. You don't expect. I'm not looking for Citizen Kane when I go see John Wick.
Adam is just shaking his head. By the way, I thought that was I wish we'd had that on camera.
But I will say that the crazy thing about Keanu Reeves is think about how groundbreaking from an action perspective both of the trilogies he's been a part of. Say what you will about The Matrix now. At the time, it was cutting edge, like the bullet time photography and
Sure.
the special effects and the way that the actors trained in martial arts. And now it's this whole, like, I don't know what they call that gun martial art that he does, but it's got a name.
The whole thing where the bullets slow down, and that was the first movie to do
absolutely.
that. I will say, he's about to have his third trilogy. Because Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
and I support the San Dimas High School football rules.
Segment 3 will be out, I think, next year. No, I will say, to me, my favorite Keanu Reeves moment was actually during Toy Story 4. In Toy Story 4, he plays the Evel Knievel style stunt jumping motorcycle dude. And so in all of the craziness of Toy Story 4, Tom Hanks' voice and all the different people that are in this, they managed towards the end of the movie, which is brilliantly written, by the way, and a must-see. It's a great film.
Sure.
At the end, when the motorcycle dude, voiced by Keanu Reeves, finally goes, whoa. It's a wonderful, wonderful moment. And to me, that was when Keanu Reeves finally, like, okay, now I get it.
It harkens back to the moment in the first Matrix when they upload the thing and then he snaps awake and he's like, I know Kung Fu.
I don't know. He's either like the worst actor of our generation or the best. There is no other choice.
He's an American treasure. There's no question about that. I mean, like, the guys like him and like Kurt Russell, where you're just like, I don't even know how this works.
And Gary Busey.
And Gary Busey.
Well, old Gary Busey.
Old Gary Busey.
He's gone a little
pre-accident. Gary Busey.
Like his role in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas as the highway patrolman.
Brilliant. Listen,
so
if you have the stomach for it, go back and find how you can stream the season of Celebrity Apprentice that Gary Busey is on. Because not only will you get vintage President Donald Trump before he was president,
sure,
you will get Gary Busey that you just will not be able to believe. And one of my favorite people in the world, Penn Jillette's on there. So,
I was thinking
worth watching.
DC Cab, but
DC Cab is
I'm aging myself with that one.
And I will point out we've had more wonderful rabbit holes on this show.
This show has been
it's been
all over the place,
hasn't it? Like shotgun.
What is that in your hand, by the way?
So I figured since like we have to get to the
if
point,
I may, let's announce the sniff, because I promised we were going to do it earlier and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The whiskey sniff has been solidified for 2019.
We're
it
ready.
will take place upstairs at B&B Butchers and Restaurant.
Indeed.
And it will be on the Wednesday, the 6th of November.
Yes.
And we're very excited about it this year. Not only do we already have, it was, the first year was great last year. We had such a good time, but the reports that came out of it and how much fun people had.
And how many people regretted not being able to get there.
We're so good that people started clamoring to be a part of it for this year, really almost before the event was over last year. And so we will have, I don't know, half again as many spirits
I believe
available.
We've doubled it. Maybe even a couple more.
Oh, that's just music to my ears.
And we're going to expand the area. So we've already worked out a plan for where upstairs
we will be doing
the
entire upstairs this time,
which will include the indoor area.
Indeed. Which you can't smoke inside. Please don't walk in with your cigars. I'm putting that out there now.
Right. So here's what we got planned, just so you know. We will have a lot of the spirits set up inside, and the outdoor area will be basically the cigar lounge area.
The whole upper terrace will be reserved for the cigar lounge.
So there'll be plenty of room to smoke. You'll come in, you'll get your bag of cigars, you'll light up whatever you want to light up, you'll smoke it, and then true to what the whiskey sniff is all about, you'll be able to go and sniff your whiskeys. Now, Ian, the whiskey sniff came from your ritual that you have when you're at home and you've lit a cigar. And you smoke it how far? Maybe like quarter of an inch in or something?
I usually get into the first third of the cigar, about an inch into the cigar. Past the initial light, which the initial light on a cigar a lot of times is a little different than
you get a little more pepper,
flavor.
you get a little more it kind of settles down.
But basically it's very subjective. So you basically you light your cigar and you smoke it to the point where you get that flavor on your palate.
Yes.
And once you have the cigar flavor on your palate, then it's a very easy thing to walk into your whiskey collection and pop the tops and just give them a smell and go and let your palate basically decide what's going to go with that cigar. And it's so easy to do. And it's constantly evolving because, say, for instance, I light a cigar and I go sniff my whiskeys and I decide, hey, that Glenfiddich 14 is going to go really well with this. And I drink a small glass of it. Say, I don't drink big glasses of whiskey when I'm doing this because this is so evolving. I take a taste and I pour a small glass of it and I enjoy it. And then I'm inevitably done with my whiskey way before I'm done with my cigar. So then I go in. Well, now I have both of those
again.
Both of those flavors on my palate, and I go smell my whiskey again. There's going to be another whiskey that's going to match it, and it just smells right with the cigar. It's a really interesting way to do it. It's just something that I came up with that made sense to me, and I can't believe we turned it into a thing.
You called it before we had an event. You called it the whiskey sniff.
We called it the whiskey sniff. Me and my brother came up with this. We used to talk on the phone a lot. He lives in Arizona, and so I would be on the phone chatting with him while I was doing this, and somehow between me and him, we came up with the name Whiskey Sniff, and that just became a thing.
So just to clarify, when you're doing the Whiskey Sniff at home, before there was an event, you've smoked the first third or so of your cigar, and then you actually leave your outdoor area, you walk inside to where your whiskeys are, and you do the sniff.
Yes.
So we're going to recreate that.
Trying to come up with a much closer approximation of
so
what you do.
We'll have the outdoor area where everyone can choose what cigar they want to smoke, light it up, smoke the first bit of it, and then they go into the area. And in fact, Jeremiah, if this is okay, we're going to have a sign made as people walk into the indoor area that will say Ian's living room.
That'd be awesome.
And we'll walk into Ian's living room where we'll have all of these spirits, even more than what Ian has in his bar at home. And one of the things we learned from the first whiskey sniff is all of them will have little samples poured out into Glencairns to make it easy to do the sniff, so that you can really figure out what you want next.
Yes.
You'll do the sniff, and then you'll walk back out, and after you've gotten a little taste of that, and you'll walk back out to enjoy it with your cigar. Now, one of the things that will make this possible, and you may want to think about this for your living room as well, Ian, is that we will have cigar girls posted at the entrance who can hold your cigar for you while you go in. How great is that?
I do need to do that at my house.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Because I just use an ashtray.
Right, but think
what was I thinking?
How much cooler it would be.
We're working on cigar girls.
Yeah, we'll find some. I'm sure.
We're definitely on it, but I'm also like, as we talk about it out loud, I'm like, man, I don't know, some lady with like 5 cigars on a tray right under her nose is gonna be like, you don't pay me enough for this.
Well,
it's all the cigar smokes just going on her face.
Or she's going to turn around and be like, oh, you picked Lafroig 10? Rookie.
Posted, the sound quality is excellent. Congrats on doing things the right way. Bravo. I like to attribute the sound quality of today's show to my wireless microphone.
I knew you were going
because
there.
The last time when you guys were live on location, you had issues with sound. I didn't have my wireless mic with me.
That's true.
So I just
well, to be fair, you weren't there, so I feel like it was just sort of overall the universe
I was actually there on Facebook, though.
Well, I mean, you're always there in spirit with us.
One of the things that is really interesting about the Whiskey Sniff is that we're going to have not only will Whistle Pig be participating this year.
Ian, this is
that's for Adam there.
This is Adam's Whistle Pig right here.
Yes. Not only will Whistle Pig be participating, but you're going to have a very special Whistle Pig available for the sniff. Well, it'll be available at B&B and also available
for purchase at B&B coming soon. But we announced not too long ago we got our first barrel of Whistle Pig. So Stephanie Maxwell, phenomenal steward of that brand. Not only do I just enjoy sitting down and talking to her as a human, but she knows her whiskey upside down, backwards.
We love Stephanie. I mean, she's the greatest.
Just an amazing steward of that brand and American whiskey in general.
One of the things about her is that she spent so much time traveling in our region with Dave Pickrell.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people may have not gotten the appropriate chance to talk to her because Dave Pickrell's there. So, like, you're talking to Dave, you don't realize maybe how knowledgeable she is and what she knows about whiskey.
She does. So this is our single barrel pick of the Whistle Pig 10-year.
So this will be arriving at B&B when?
Sometime in the next 3 weeks-ish.
Okay. And you'll make sure you have some left for us for the...
absolutely. Well, I got a whole barrel, so that's a lot. I don't know if you've seen a barrel.
That is the ryeest thing
I was
ever.
Say,
we've
been wanting to do heights of ryeness here.
And the beautiful thing about when you buy the barrel is you get to keep it at the proof. So this is actually at 119 and a little change.
Do we speak your language in the final segment, Ian, or what?
This is lovely. I do want to point out Do you see the bottom of my glass there with the? No, this is not the Whistle Pig. This is the Quint.
Oh, the Quint, yes.
Yes. Do you see the sediment in the bottom of the glass?
I don't know if it's chewy or not, but yes, I do see the sediment. Yeah. But, okay, so the Quint was wonderful at what, about 15%?
It was amazing.
Really
Absolutely
amazing. And now, some overproofed Whistle Pig.
Well, and I feel like if you drink a beer like the Quint, you have to follow that up
with something big.
It's got to be big.
Yeah.
And it's got and so anytime
wow.
When I sit down to pick barrels,
this is definitely a BBW, a big beautiful whiskey.
You know, I have I've talked about it on the show, and I mentioned it when we did Chris's show. Is it's interesting when you pick barrels because getting your own palate out of the way is a challenge.
Meaning that you have to pick something that you feel like your customers are going to want,
like
as opposed to just something
me.
that
I'm not drinking the barrel, so it's easy for me to sit down and be like, "Boom, 123.9, let's go."
Yeah,
that's the one I want.
So you would know that Ian would come to the bar.
Absolutely, but one thing I've learned over the evolution, now that I've been afforded the opportunity to purchase many single barrels at this point, and there's more to come in the spring.
By the way, can I just say, your Elijah Craig barrel?
Amazing.
Oh, man. Yeah. I have it every time I come to B&B.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so delicious.
I'm almost out of it. We're
it's completely
to the tail end
completely different from this, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Was that what we were destroying the last time?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, when you guys were up on the terrace.
Oh,
yeah.
my
I'm pretty sure that's the reason he's almost out.
Oh,
yeah,
my gosh,
it might
so
be.
good.
But so when you pick the barrel with this one, what is the best example of the Whistle Pig 10 that was put in front of me? And this was an intense tasting. I mean, I literally tasted through 10 or 12 barrels in half an hour.
Wow.
I mean, and one of those, and another example, hey, by all means, I do not, when I taste on that level, I'm spitting, responsible consumption.
Right, because you want to be able to be, when you get to those later ones,
absolutely,
you don't want to be... Yeah, you don't want to be like everything's good.
This is great. I want another
greatest
one.
whiskey I've ever had.
Yeah, and so you're and at that point, I'm also tasting. I don't think anything I tasted was below 108 or something.
Right,
that'll burn your tongue.
It gets you, and so but with this one, I actually towards the latter part of it, I got our GM Keith Garver involved, and we sat and we tasted through a bunch of rye. And this was the one. It was universal. I even took it blind to a couple of people with a couple of the other examples, and it won
hands down. Yeah.
It's heavy, but it's approachable. I guarantee you, with a little bit of ice, as this kind of waters down, it's going to start to get that sweet rye quality. You'll still get the spice in the back, but it's going to be really, really neat.
So good
to have this at the sniff, that people can come and actually try something that literally they can't get anywhere else.
And one of the wonderful things about the sniff, and I don't think we've set the ticket price for it yet, but it'll be reasonable. But no matter what that ticket price is, no matter what that ticket price is, the idea of being able to sample the caliber of spirits you'll be able to sample.
The lineup
for
this year is insane.
There's no way you could do it for that price. There's no way.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'll just throw some names out there because I can't without putting anybody else at
Fair enough.
We'll have Four Roses. We'll have William Grant and all the Balvinis and Glenfiddichs and Tullamores and all their beautiful portfolio.
Amazing.
We're gonna have the Beam Suntory crew is gonna show up.
Awesome.
Fernandez. Maybe I can get Krockenberger or Adam to come out.
I love that.
Adam is one of the greatest ambassadors. He won Ambassador of the Year. I mean, the guy's phenomenal at what he does. So we'll have all the Beam Suntory, the makers, the knobs, the bookers.
Nice.
I'm sure we'll have some crazy Lafroigs and maybe some Habikis. I know for sure we're going to have I'm hoping that they're released. And Mike, if he's watching, will yell at me, but I'd like to have the Woodford Straight Series. They're about to release they're about to be the only distillery that I know of that has a full straight line, where they're going to have a straight rye, a straight bourbon, a straight malt, and a straight wheat.
Nice.
That is phenomenal. But some big boys, there's some people that we haven't talked to that we're reaching out to. But I think this year is going to be my goal. Like I told you yesterday, my goal is to have it be so big this year that next year we can't have it at B&B. We gotta
That'd
go
be
get a
amazing.
space.
And that
We had, I got to tell you, last year when I was up, because your outside deck is 2 levels.
Sure.
And I was standing up on that higher level, and I just turned around and looked, and I just saw this sea of faces, people smoking cigars, trying whiskey. Everybody was
Was
just
happy.
smiling and happy.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was so fun.
Having been to a few events, this seemed like the friendliest and most fun event. We talk about all the time about the Houston Whiskey Social and how much we love that and how it is like the gold standard.
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely.
For those kind of events, and I still believe that 100%. And you really should buy tickets to that and go. But the whiskey
Which
Sniff-
tickets are on sale for
yes,
that, by
they
the
are,
way.
by the
Yes.
way. So HoustonWhiskeySocial.com, I
Yes,
believe.
yes.
But the Whiskey Sniff is really a different kind of event, and there's something about it that is just really, I don't know, it's really mellow and fun.
Yes.
Like that's how the first year came off anyway.
Well, the goal is to keep that. I mean, that's the whole idea behind. I feel like that's like the vision of what Ian has.
Well,
is you want everyone to feel like you're just hanging out
What
in the
happens-
back porch.
What happens is a lot of people walk in, they're not entirely sure what to expect. And when
Right.
you explain it to them, yes, it actually is that casual. You start your cigar, you go in and you just sniff the whiskey, and the one that smells nice to you. You don't have to try everything. You can get to it. You can finish your cigar and go try anything you want. But frankly, the whole goal of this is to match that whiskey with the cigar and just enjoy that experience. And you're not required to do anything.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
there are no
just to
rules.
hang. Yeah.
Yeah, you
and,
just-
and you can do the whiskey sniff or not do the whiskey
Yeah,
sniff.
I mean,
Yeah,
if your
no.
goal
Yeah.
is to try every whiskey there, then, fine, you're going to be drunk. You're probably not going to enjoy the rest of your night or the next
Right.
morning because there's too many. But the bottom line is, and sometimes with the whiskey sniff, here's a funny thing. Like, a lot of people just gravitate towards the most expensive or rare. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not like that, though. You smoke your cigar and you go, man, that Weller 12 is the right spot
Yes,
with this
the-
cigar because
yeah.
I
because
feel like last year that Four Roses single barrel.
oh, that Four Roses
I was
so
just
good.
about to
just,
say.
it had
People
just come
just
out.
kept
So
going
and
back
it was,
and
man,
back.
Like, and
Yeah.
Nick, Four Roses will be there. Nick's
Yeah,
gonna bring a
so
whole bunch
good.
of stuff.
Yeah, Nick is awesome, and that whiskey is so, like, they're making such an incredibly good name for themselves. Like, I just love those
Well,
guys.
There's something about doing it right. And,
Yeah.
and they're doing it on a scale that it's sustainable.
Yes,
They have some whiskeys that are obviously going to be more allocated
Mm-hmm.
than maybe their normal ones, but even those are still fairly available. I'm a huge proponent of the Four Roses. It's just a brand as a whole,
we love them.
and the story again. The story of Four Roses and how it came about, and the Four
Absolutely.
Roses that he left for the ball, and it's just a beautiful.
And
thing.
that book that they have is such a wonderful,
gorgeous,
gorgeous,
absolutely
yeah,
gorgeous.
telling the story of what Four Roses is all
Yeah.
about. It's
I want
great.
to point out this Cohiba, this red dot here. This is a tiny cigar. This is it was probably 4.5.
Don't undersell
inches
the
by
size
a-
of your hands.
by a 38. They're just hands, man.
Big hands, big
Um,
heart.
This is putting out. Look at the amount of smoke this thing. Just a puff.
Wow.
For a little guy, that is a lot.
Little tiny cigar. Look at the amount of smoke this puts out. This is an outstanding cigar. Thank you, Adam. By the way, this was a gift from Adam. When
I
I
just
got
wanted
here.
to mention, when you can find one of those little cigars, one of the ones that maybe comes in
Yeah.
the tin,
Smoking
and
perfectly.
it's really, really good.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, okay, I can have a cigar.
No.
That's a thing.
This is outstanding.
That's a thing. Well, this really has been one of the more interesting shows in a while. We've not only gone down more rabbit holes, but we've tasted a really wide and different variety of things, and we've found really all of them to be good in their own cool and interesting way. And that's mine for the Weller. Thank you. It's been. I was going to say, wow, I finished my Whistle Big first, but I think you actually beat me to that.
I cannot tell you how excited I am about this
Whistle
barrel
Pig
of
is so
whiskey to
good.
show up.
Yes,
man.
it really is. So we're really excited about the sniff. More details coming on this. We promise that the ticket price will be
we'll
as
have
reasonable as we
we'll
can
have
make it.
And
Yes.
the one thing with the ticket price, to be honest, I looking back at last year, I think it'll actually be right in line.
Yes.
And with the people that we've added, and I mean, I'll even throw out a couple of teasers. These are all subject to change sometimes, but I feel like having some cool ones like if hopefully we'll get Cavalon Mm-hmm. Just some of the other stuff. We're gonna have Brown Foreman, not just Woodford, but I'm hoping to get the Prohibitions from Old Forester.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Like that 1920 is one of the most amazing bottles. Like, speaking of value,
We did the Prohibition ale, or Prohibition, not ale, Prohibition whiskey.
the Old
a while
Forester
back,
1920
So
is like
good.
$28 a bottle, and it's so available,
Yes.
and it comes at 115 proof. It's amazing stuff.
And we
So-
we haven't had a chance to talk to them yet because this is just announced, but we will be inviting Garrison Brothers.
Absolutely.
And that's really excited about
They're
that
so
too
good.
because
yeah,
they're
here,
so
I have,
good.
I,
And
I
they're
have
so.
my cheat sheet.
You know,
I
we got to
love
talk
it.
to Mr. Whitmire too.
Definitely. So, and then hopefully we'll get Dan down because we're gonna have some Glenmorangies out
So,
there
yeah.
for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. Dan Kroll, if you're watching the show, please just circle that date on your calendar and reserve it
Yes.
now. And I would say the same thing would go for Allardyce too. If
Yes,
you're
Yeah,
absolutely.
no,
watching the show.
you leave Willie G to us.
Okay.
Man. We'll get Paradise and maybe Jack from Tully, and we'll get some guys down. But for me, the biggest thing is having those people that are approachable, that like know the spirits, they know the idea of what we're doing, and just making it as comfortable and casual and warm as possible. At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
it's a bunch of friends smoking cigars and drinking whiskey, man.
Yes.
Well, I have to say, this has been one of my favorite shows that we've done in a long time. I've just really
Yeah,
loved
it's-
just hanging and smoking and
I
drinking
was
with
just
you
about
guys.
to say, it's been
And-
more like a hangout session.
And to be honest, that's kind of what the original vision for the
Yep.
show always was. And, sometimes we have the opportunity to introduce people to something new or really showcase something cool, and we love doing that, whether it's beers or whiskeys or rums or whatever it is, or aquavit. But this has just been a great deal of fun. So thank you, Jeremiah, for being on the
thank
show.
you guys for having
You rock, baby.
And
Always.
just, by the way, thank you to you and to B&B for being a sponsor of the show. This is it's just been a wonderful
only gonna get
partnership, and it's only going to get better.
It's only gonna
and I
get
know
better.
you got other things coming that you'll be able to talk about soon in the future.
There's a big
Yes.
one up my sleeve that I can't wait to talk about, and when we get there, we'll talk at length.
We've been
And,
been
Nice.
just teasing that it exists and nothing more, but it's going to be exciting.
It's a whisper
so
right
thank
now.
you to you guys for checking out the show and for following us, whether you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or whether you are on the Android side of things at Google Play, or whether you watch the show live on Facebook or check us out on YouTube. One of the things we would ask for you is if you enjoy the show and you have friends you think would, please share it with them. We appreciate it.
Yes, please share.
And-
Hit the share button.
and
Hit the
shout
like
out to
button.
Adam behind the glass.
Yes, thank you so much, Adam, on the Wheels of Steel, and thank you to everybody who provided the
Casa
fine
de Monte Cristo.
spirits. And yes, absolutely, these guys are awesome, and they're one of our favorites. We appreciate it. Thanks to Wiki Brian for keeping us straight, and I genuinely enjoy hanging out with you guys,
Absolutely.
which is what makes this all so
Cheers,
fun.
gentlemen.
Thank you and cheers.
Punch.